the invite. Thank you so much, Mr. Cornelius. Thank you so much for the invite. Thank you so much, Mr. Cornelius. So this is actually, it's awesome to be here. I am a graduate of Texas Wesleyan, so this is, you guys are in an amazing path. I move around a lot. I hope that's okay. I'm not going to get you busy. And I will stay for questions. If you have questions, by all means, ask away, right? So I'm Israel Coronado. I am part of the Texas Texana Board of Directors, as well as your state political director. And one of my objectives is to get the entire CRNA community engaged with politics. Now that's one of those words that nowadays people don't really want to talk about. They kind of stay away with it. But what's the link between community professional advocacy and political involvement? What is the importance of legislation and CRNA practice? How can you get involved? And are you motivated? Please keep those 4 questions in mind as we go through this presentation, okay? Keep them in mind. You don't have to write them down, but just kind of look at them and keep that in the back of your head as we talk about this. Everybody can hear me okay, right? Good. Okay, so who am I? I graduated 2011 from here. I've been in healthcare through nursing and a team member before then for over 20 years. I'm the owner and co-founder of Anesthesia Associates and a bunch of other stuff we're really not going to get into today. That's the Texana Board of Directors getting sworn in this past September in Houston. And we have Thanksgiving coming up, right? How many of you are excited to go home and see your families for a while? Yes? No? Right? And these are the 4 things that you'll probably cover at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Okay, you're going to talk about food. I hope you do talk about food. You're going to talk about family. What have you done? Where have you been? Did you get married? And then you're going to talk about football. And lastly, you will talk about politics. There's about a 35% chance you will be discussing politics in one way or another. That's the big P word. Now, let's be honest about this. There are many who will shy away from talking about politics. Why? Because it causes some problems, some discussions. You disagree with that other person that you love dearly, but you don't want to talk to them about it. Right? So, politics. When I say politics, I have an assumption as to what I think you're thinking, right? It's like a quiet thing we don't say. But what I want to bring you to is a flood. Now, you came to an anesthesia symposium, you're expecting to be talked about anesthesia stuff, and I'm going to do my best to try to connect a flood to our practice. Now, in June of 2020, the day after my birthday, I was on call the day of my birthday. And in the city of Westlake, Texas, we get a rain, and it's a massive rain. And it's one of those rains that we don't expect. The official report was, as soon as it happened, was that it was a 1 in a 1,000 year flood event. But after about a week, the story changed. Then it went to a 1 in a 500 year. And then when we had a second rain a month later, they changed it to a 1 in 100 years. And then we had a third flood, and they're like, well, it's happening more often, so, it just happens, right? So I'm going to show you a video, and this kind of narrows down more or less as to what happened in the shortest version that I can. So I have this video. I want you to pay attention to it. Can we dim the lights a little bit so everybody can see?
And that was the Israel. It was an act of God. It rained too much. And I looked at it and I said, you can't be blaming Mother Nature an act of God when your basics are not covered. If we go by the biblical standards, we all have to be prepared. We go to the north. The city of West is not by any means. But now we know that it doesn't take a hurricane to cause the damage that we lived through. It could be a simple rain. And the officials have that responsibility then pushed the department heads to say, you know what, we need all these things in place right now, June 1st. It took 20 days after the start of storm season before we got hit. And yes, the Calvin flooded, right? Mission flooded, but they didn't stay flooded for 7 days. Westaco stayed flooded for many days. And that points to a problematic drainage system. And as we found out, it's one that's not maintained. I was on call at the hospital when we saw the storm coming in. I said, hey, are we on diversion? Yes, and we're not going to do any surgeries today. There's people having a hard time getting in. This is early in the morning, a couple hours after the rain started. So I asked, can we evacuate if we need to? But not by ambulance. That's what I was told. The next morning, I see a lot of people walking in the streets, trying to get to their homes. The neighbors right across the street from me, they lost it all too. And this is a retired person. I don't think they should be going through this, at this point in their life. So as I started going out there, I started with my little trailer. I have a little trailer, and I said, well, maybe I can use my trailer and go about, help people clean or take. Then I started thinking, I said, about a week after, I said, where's everybody? When a week goes by and you don't hear from them, and I looked online, I said, when is going to be the next city hall meeting? Because quarter of Westaco got affected. That's 10,000 people. And I see that the meeting was canceled. So I questioned that, why was the meeting canceled? And also, no, as we understand, the meeting was canceled months ago because of the 4th of July. The city threw a big 4th of July celebration party. And while 75% of the city was celebrating, a quarter of Westaco was suffering. And as the elected officials got their time with their families they requested months before, there was other families in Westaco that were spending time with each other, tearing down sheetrock and taking out their wet belongings. About 2 weeks out after the flood, I was tired. We were not getting any traction from many volunteers. As I'm out there cleaning houses, and I'm frustrated, and I am tired, and I'm about to give up. And I walk into this house, I come across this one story with Mr. Anesthesia, and he does not have arms or legs. He's out there tearing down his old walls. He would shovel with his shoulder, pick it up with his stump of the arm, and throw it in the wheelbarrow. He disappeared for a while. I was like, great, he's going to take a break. Let's go, guys. So we're tearing down walls. And I didn't see him for like 20 minutes. So I had a question for him, and I'm looking for him all over the house, and I find him in another room tearing down more walls. He was relentless. And I said, man, we're here to help. What are you doing? He says, no, Israel. This is my house, and I have to put my part. He drives to his neighbor's house, shows up, and then he's tearing down her walls. He's teaching her grandchildren how to do it. You see, this is the community coming together. And I admire him. His determination, his drive. That is what I want to teach my kids. What am I going to do if I quit today? I can't. I have to go on. I must go on. Once I found out all these connections and how things are working, and the compadrismo, the nepotism, the favoritism. The public works director is a very close friend of the mayor. And he utilized the mayor as a reference in his application for the process of getting his position. And now that's on the mayor. Positioning an unqualified person with such a critical job that affects so many because he's your friend, because he's your relative, or simply because he helped you put some signs on some yards while you ran, is wrong. He failed us. Not maintaining this drainage is a basic fundamental aspect of it. And if you ran on that platform of drainage, we have to question what happened and hold those people accountable. And the mayor didn't have the courage to call out his friend and say, why did you do right? We have to make him accountable. It's on the mayor. But positioning people that you are friends with who are not qualified, and you can't justify their qualifications, then the people will rise. There is a process, but it takes everybody to keep them accountable. Blind loyalties get us to this position. When you follow someone just because of association and don't question their qualifications, that is dangerous. I've been asked if I have any political affiliations, and I do not. My political understanding of the city before the flood was when I would go vote, I park and I see a parking lot full of people requesting your vote. Vote for my cousin, vote for my friend, he's the best. So I questioned, I said, why is it that come election time, elected officials have the capacity to move the masses for the sole purpose of getting a vote? But come disaster time, they lose that ability. What changes? So as far as the backlash, it's come, but I am so blessed that there is a lot of support. There has been plenty of support from the community because they have seen what we have been doing. And I welcome that backlash because it creates a dialogue. And we can start working from here forward and getting solutions and demanding results.
My last question for you is, why are you personally so invested?
Some people think I flooded, I didn't. I have 2 properties. I have one now in Mercedes and one in West End. Neither of them flooded. Some people have asked me, are you going to run? Do you want to run? I don't. I don't want to run. If I don't do anything today, I think when I'm 80, my kids are going to have to help me move my wet stuff out, tear down my sheetrock. I don't want that. So that's why I'm so invested into this. Because this time you may not have flooded, but in the direction we're going, you're going to flood next. I feel there are many qualified people that can run a city. They just have to care, and they have to represent the people that elected them. And I know that many people have questions to, why are you stepping away from helping people? And we're not. We're still very much involved in helping. Somebody called it a shift. I call it an addition to what we're doing with the community and helping, to now making the elected officials accountable and getting involved with the political aspect of this movement. But we cannot achieve our goal of making Wesco drain again without getting involved in politics. We're still working with recovery. We have a saying that our currency is kindness, and it's been proven true time after time. And we're asking the community to reach out and say, I can donate a piece of wood, 1 2x4. I can donate a box of nails. And I'm telling the community to go make Wesco drain again and join us and help our neighbor. Make it a selfless Saturday, make it a selfless Sunday, and join us.
So a little update. Rene Ayala became a good friend of mine. And a few years after that flood, he passed away. But one of the things that stayed with me was that relentlessness. Without arms, without legs, you could see him shovel, mow the lawns, go to his neighbors and help them out. He just had a big heart for people. And that's one of the driving factors that kept me going. A little example of what happened with the city, we had multiple floods after that. And we developed a community organized effort to help families, not only the cleaning process, but providing groceries, and it became a grassroots movement to reach out. And from there, when I did not see a response from the elected officials, is when I made the decision that I needed to push harder, which meant threatening that same position. So I ran for mayor of the city of Mercedes. And one of the things that I did is I decided to look at the budget. And one of the things that I have as a benefit is my wife's an accountant. So it was easy to kind of go to her and say, hey, help me out in understanding these things, right? I don't have a business background, but she does, and she helped me look through the numbers. And as we were going through them, one of the things that we noticed was that in the budget items, not just for the city of Mercedes, but the city of West Side, as well as the county, there was always a budget item that dealt with drainage maintenance. And they were anywhere between $125,000 to $150,000 a year for drainage maintenance. And in the video, you see some of the drains that were unmaintained for many years. They had 50-year-old trees. They had palm trees that were 10 feet tall. And palm trees take a long time to grow. So no one had maintained those systems for many, many, many years. So I decided to question that. And when I ran, I decided that the number one thing I was going to do was be fiscally accountable and do a forensic audit on the city's budget. And I was going to do so starting with the police department. This is what we get from scrubs to handcuffs, okay? Because immediately after I announced that I was running and that was my objective, all of a sudden there was a warrant for my arrest. And yes, that's not my best picture, but that is me. They didn't get my good side. 4 days later, there's a warrant for my arrest. And the charge is attempted to disrupt the public meeting or procession. And it was directly presented by the chief of police, who went to the municipal judge, who is an attorney, is a person who understands the law. And that municipal judge told the chief of police, I'm not signing this. This is not a good arrest. So what does the chief of police say? Instead of going and saying, okay, we'll drop this, he goes to the justice of the peace, who is not an attorney. He's someone who made a good barbecue and got a lot of votes. And now gets to take away tickets from anybody that comes to his court. And at that point, he signed the warrant. And I was in the city meeting. I left the meeting to go get a pizza, and an unmarked vehicle came in, stopped me, and they arrested me, and that was the charge. That was the screenshot of the actual charge, okay? And this was used, the mugshot was used, and this story was used in the media. What happens is when something like this happens, you go to the media and it is presented as truth, right? Allegedly. But it's presented as truth, allegedly. And it stays there, and it was used throughout the campaign to scare the community and the public to say, this guy's a criminal. We saw him, he got arrested, right? So the campaign went on, and we went through the whole process fighting those lies and fighting, the dirty side of politics, especially small town politics. And the day after the election, the charge was dropped. Okay? So the day after the election, the charge is dropped and the campaign is over, but the effects of that story showed effective. I lost the election. But what did we learn? What did we learn? Oh, was that supposed to be there? What did we learn from this election was that people sometimes don't want to get involved because there is a risk of damages, whether it is your image or your job, right? There's always that fear, right? So when I say politics, sometimes we're like, no, I don't want to deal with it. Okay, so now that takes me to the next slide. You guys know who that is? Who is it? Really? I'm not that. I have a cell phone. So you guys, as I show you these images, please say the name of these people.
Elsie's girlfriend.
Unanimously, everybody knows. That money. You guys know his real name? Benito. Extra points on the next test, please. Who's that gentleman? Mr. Beast. I hear he has good chocolate. Not Tuesday? Okay. Beyonce. Okay, so we can agree that everybody has a good knowledge of who these people are, right? Aubrey. So everybody in this room kind of is aware of what's going on in the entertainment side of the world, right? So you know who these individuals are. How many of you got to see some of the testimony that happened in April, May of last year, or this year, coming out of the Texas Capitol? You saw it? 2, 3. Anybody else? So it's about the right percentage. I know everybody else was busy studying for the pharmacology exam. I get it. Okay? But, do any of you know who these individuals are? No. That's your homework. I will not tell you who they are. I was, but not anymore. Because there's too many people who don't know. Take a mental picture. They are members of the Public Health Committee in the state capitol. Now, you might ask, why is that important? These are the state representatives that look at policy that affects your career. Okay? Let me repeat that. These are the individuals tasked with making policy for all of our careers here. Okay? Now, one of the issues is that right now I've asked how many of you know who they are, and 3 or 4 people kind of raise their hands, which is about right. But when we talk about politics, and actually I have an exercise that I usually do with smaller groups where I bring M&Ms, and I ask everybody to get M&Ms, whether it's peanut or plain. Surprisingly, not many people like plain M&Ms. So I figured it was going to be really difficult to get M&Ms for everybody in this group. But just kind of imagine that, right? You choose whether it's plain or the peanut, and then you got to choose one color of the M&M, whether it's yellow, brown, blue, red, or whatever, and that's the color you choose. So imagine that is your representative that you're choosing, right? But if I was to get only 3 people, the 3 people that raised their hand, how representative of the entire group would that be? It wouldn't be, because 3 of them could have had the blue color M&Ms, and everybody else, they could have had a larger on yellow, right, or brown. So that's not representative at all. Nationally, when people talk about getting engaged with the electoral process, we're looking at around 63%, which is good or bad. If you take an exam on Monday, this coming Monday, you take that exam, you get a 63.5%, I'll give you the 0.5, what happens? What? It's a failure, yes. Can you retest? Probably not. But the good thing is that these numbers show the national enthusiasm to get involved in the electoral process. And this is also, I'm just saying get involved because many of them are not really in tune with what's really going on with each of their representatives. Many of you go to the ballot box and you know who the candidate is that you're going to go vote for, and you see the ballot box where there's 30 candidates and you know only one. How many, show your hands, does that happen to you? Yes, it happens to me too. Did you know that you don't have to vote for those individuals if you don't want to, if you don't know who they are? It's not like a test. You can actually skip it, right? But we don't do that because, I have to fill in the bubble. We're so trained, we cannot leave a question unanswered, right? But you vote for people who you don't know. But the good thing is that this is at the national level. So let's bring it down to Texas. What about Texas? Well, in Texas, we're about the same, a little lower. We're looking at around a 57, 55% on average. 55 is still less, but what happens if you get a 55 on the exam? Worse, right? So Texas, let's round it up to 60%. But in my city, when I ran, we had a 40%. 40% of people that came out of the potential electorate that came on and voted, 40%. Okay, which is still bad, it's really bad. But what happens in our community of anesthesia providers, CRNAs? We're here, we're educated, we're professionals, we're licensed, we study hard. So you would expect that the numbers are higher or lower when it comes to getting engaged and involved in the politics of our profession. What do you think? It should be higher. I agree with you. Texas is one of the largest associations that you're going to have because we have the most number of CRNAs. It's huge. We have about 5,000 in the state, okay? More or less, give and take, it's not used for locums, right? But 5,000, that is a significant number of people. But what about us? As as far as people that actually get engaged with the AANA or Texana and actually know who their representatives are in those associations and who is representing them to guide policy on our behalf, right? How many of you know? Raise your hands. Say 3. 10 to 15%. Let me ask you again. What would happen if on the exam on Monday you got a 10 to 15%? Huh? They're gonna walk you out of here. Can you come with me, please? Get your stuff. Where's your car parked? We'll walk you all the way, right? Look, guys. That's 10 to 15%. It's something we need to change desperately. Okay? There's a lot of terms that when you go to clinicals get tossed around. And the vast majority of the CRNAs who are practicing may not know what those terms actually mean. And it is important that we change that. You have gone to, how many of you have gone to clinicals already, right? Raise your hands if you've gone to clinicals. Okay, for those of you who have been at the hospital setting, Gil and I actually are classmates from about 2 years ago. It wasn't 2 years ago. I know we look 27, him more than me. So when it comes down to these terms, right? You go to clinicals and you will be asked on what the name of that weird valve that nobody really knows what it's for, but it's on the anesthesia machine, and you're supposed to know it because you're going to be tested on it, right? And they'll ask you that question. The funny thing is that CRNA just looked it up on Google just to look good and ask you about it. And the second thing that happens is that he doesn't have a clue what some of these terms mean. And they don't understand or get involved because he's part of that 10%, he's part of the 90% that doesn't get involved in understanding how our practice works, right? Okay. When it comes to opting out, opting in, and the whole logistic of how we are allowed to practice in the state, we need to do a little better job at understanding that. I will not waste your time because I know you're going to probably cover this as well. But please don't disregard this part of our profession. Just as it is important to know how to intubate somebody, just as it is important to know how to do the technical stuff about putting in an A line, putting a central line, learning about regional anesthesia, this should be up there on that list as well. Okay? Now, how do we practice? We fall under nursing, right? And in Texas, there's a few occupational codes that are written into the law that allow for us to practice the act of anesthesia through delegation. A physician writes an order, they need anesthesia for patient per CRNA. That order is there, then we can proceed. Is the anesthetic specifically guided on how it has to be done? No. Who chooses that? You will be a professional. You will be a licensed and insured professional who will have to choose the right path of anesthesia for that patient. And you have to be competent in that. In the state of Texas, there are many models. There's the models that are care team models, where you work in a team. There's sometimes the office-based model where you are alone, and there's just you and the surgeon. Depending on where you go, you have to be prepared for everything, right? And these are the many things that we can do. I just went through the whole symposium, which was amazing. Man, you guys have no clue how good you have it. Okay, I didn't even have to cover any of this because I just saw that you actually did all that. So we're licensed under the Texas Board of Nursing. Delegation is a formality. It's a legal formality because we need that to be able to be written out because we're in the state of Texas. But that's not in every state, right? There are states that have opted out of that and they don't need that kind of delegation. But in Texas, you do. Now, let me get to this part here. Just like the flood, my neighbors, and this is the main reason why I got involved to begin with, they were in their 70s. They had lived in that house their entire life. They had built it from nothing to where it was. And that one morning, at 3 or 4 a.m., they lost it all. And they were forced to move. They were forced to sell. And you could just see their tears coming out. And that was moving. But they didn't care about flooding or the drainage system. until it happened. But at that point, it was too late. So what I ask of you, because you guys are a force multiplier, you will be in touch with more CRNAs than I will be. Why? Because I'm in my own room, but you're going to be jumping, shadowing different people. Am I right? Yeah. I ask that you bring these conversations up. They are important. Don't be afraid to talk about politics as long as it is focused on our profession. There are many issues in the world today, many issues nationally, you see the news, but I can't think of a more important issue than the one that provides for our family. That's the one that I care about. And there are individuals in these public health committees at the state level that I want to believe they mean well. But by the same token, they may not be fully informed. And this is my assessment after listening to their public comments on a public stage about our profession. And I think that we need to do a better job at making connections with these individuals who are representing you in your house, in your district. There are 151 state representatives all throughout the state. And if you live anywhere in Texas, even for a short amount of time, it is a good idea to get to know who they are, okay? So everybody take out your phone, and we're gonna start with the basics. You know what to do. I don't even need to tell you guys what to do. Please, this is a QR code. Please scan the phone. This is the basics. Let's start with this. You gotta know who your state representative is. So this is gonna take you to a site, and it will basically help you find out who represents you at the state level, and I think at the federal level as well. Everybody got it? If you didn't, you can share with your friends. I know you have little chat groups. Okay. Then, this is the second step. Once you find out who is representing you, these are elected officials, especially on the state representative side. They run every 2 years, so they are in a constant state of seeking election. Okay, so please be registered to vote, because if you ever get to meet them and you ever want to ask them of anything, hey, I'm a CRNA, I'm a resident anesthesia student, or whatever you want to call them, you want to know, they'll want to know if you're registered to vote. Why? Because if you're not registered to vote, oh, you're not going to vote for me, right? If you're part of that 40%, it doesn't care. They won't care either. Now, when it comes to politics, and one of the things that I want to share, like I said, we need to stay focused on the issue that matters most to us. And I know that compromise has become a word that sometimes is frowned upon in political circles, but it is something that we should bring back, because that is how we get things done. That's how we have dialogue. So we should be able to reach out to both sides of the aisle, and we should be able to talk to all kinds of representatives, whether they are Republicans, whether they are Democrats, whether they are independents. Okay? It's important to be able to keep an open mind. And more than anything, if you have known representatives that are supportive of our profession, support them, even if they go against your political views at large. And that's important. Sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, because we are so in tune with, no, but I have this ideal. But the question of, where do they stand on the one issue that should matter most to me, right? That is something that I want to bring home. And lastly, scan this one. This is how you can get involved with TXANA and the association here in the state. And if some of you are from out of state and say, well, I'm gonna go back to Florida, I'll be done in 3 years, I'm gonna go back to Florida. You are here today, and actually we hope that you stay with us in Texas, because boy, we need your help. Okay? But while you're here, please see if you can help out. And you might say, no, I'm too busy studying for my anatomy test. I'm too busy studying for the next test that's coming up next week. You do have time. I know. Okay, I was in your seat just 2 years ago. Why are you laughing? Okay, so please make the time, because the last thing you want to do is wait for that flood to come. And at that point, it'll be too late. And with that, I'll be nice. Do you guys have any questions? No questions, all right.
Thank you so much. Really? No questions? Y'all are quiet.
Oh, there's one
Oh,
there.
there we go.
Yes.
Come on, Andy.
You end up becoming mayor?
You end up becoming mayor.
No, I lost the election. I lost by 200 votes, which is a very small margin, but yes, go ahead.
How often does it run?
It runs every 4 years. But at the moment, I decided to take a break from local politics and get involved with Texana. So I'm focusing 100% on Texana, yes.
Seems like you would have had a lawsuit to bring forward there.
There is a lawsuit in place. It's a federal lawsuit, and those things take forever. So it's still in the document. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And in relation to the reduction in reimbursement for CRNAs, what's our board doing?
So at the national level, there's already a pushback on it. The AANA, and I'm part of Texana, not the AANA, and that's something that we do need to make sure that everybody does understand the differences, guys. I know you Google everything, you research everything, understand the differences. There are certain rules that apply to the Texas Association that doesn't apply to the AANA, and there are different boards. But the AANA at large is already doing something about it. I know they have sent multiple messages. President Tracy Young is the one that's leading that charge, and there's some more information you can get online, but it's happening. At the state level, we are also working to see how we can mitigate the effects of it. But that is to come, and that is the most important thing as to why I'm here, because Texas has an on and an off year when it comes to meeting with policy. This 2026 will be an off year, which means that the representative will be at home. Every state representative will be at home in 2026. That is the time to start making connections, and that's the importance of this link. Because if you're interested in saying, hey, I want to participate, I want to help out, right? I would love to meet with my state representative. When you go to this link and you choose the committee that you would like to be a part of, if that is the government committee that you want to be a part of, then I'll be reaching out to you. And I will help you, we will guide you as to what to say to your state representative. How do you reach out to them? What kind of email should you send to them? You know, what should you wear to the meeting? And what should you talk about as far as the profession is concerned? So if you do have an interest in that, and that'll take 30 to an hour of your life, right? You can spare that. So you spend more time watching puppy videos or something, right? So that's what you do. And that's the importance, because we have until 2027 when we meet again. And at that point, the legislation, if we start doing that work then, it'll be too late. Yes?
Do you have any data on why CRNAs vote so disproportionately?
I haven't found the research as to why there's such apathy. But I can tell you from being in the community for a long time is that a few things happen. Okay, one is you get comfortable. Okay, that happens because once you graduate and you're working, oh boy, where am I going to go on vacation next? You know, when is my fishing trip? And where am I going to go hunting? And when's the Cancun trip, right? And then family, you know, I have kids and I have family and I have a wedding to go to. So we work hard, we work long hours to think of politics as anything important. Because it's this is politics. Let somebody else deal with it, right? Somebody will handle it, I'm sure. Somebody will handle it. The problem is that right now we're at 10%. So that means that very few people are handling it. And everybody else needs to come on board and get active. And there's ways that they can get active, okay? Like I said, you guys will have contact with a lot of CRNAs throughout the state and other areas. This is where that conversation starts. At the lounge, when you're having lunch with everybody, politics will come about because something will come up in the news, okay? And this is where I love to have that pivot. When I'm in that lounge and I'm talking to them, and they start talking about that national issue that's so dear to their heart, I'm like, hey, I got a question. You know that there's this public health committee in Texas, right? And all of a sudden they're like, oh man, this guy's talking about that boring stuff again. But that is important to us. And we need everyone to have that conversation. So, as far as data, that would be a good research to do and see why or what the amounts are, or the reasons behind it. But yes.
I'll give you a little different answer. I know most of you aren't clinicals yet. How many of you want to work nights? 4. We're back to the same 4 people making decisions. So So if you don't work nights, who does? Somebody else, right? What if you don't want to do OB? All right, who wants to do OB? Come on, OB's fun. You make women comfortable. Babies are really cool. All right, a couple more people are interested now. Who wants to do trauma? Yeah, we like trauma. That's really sexy, right? That's great. What about everybody's not doing trauma? Yeah, we don't care. Somebody else will do it, right? So what happens when somebody else replaces you because you didn't care? Those people are out there. If you were disinterested, like the 90% of people we will deal with in the state, somebody will gladly take your job. They were cutting hair on Friday and they're doing anesthesia on Monday. So as long as you want to be apathetic, they're more than happy to step up and take your job away from you, okay? So he said it really nicely, I didn't. That's just the reality. If you go back and watch some videos from the state session this year, politics are nasty. There are lots of people that are happy to do your job for you if you don't care about doing it, okay? So do everything. Don't be a one-shot pony. Learn as many things as you can. Step up to the table, all the tables, even the political one. Trust me, as I said, day one, I am not a political person. There's obviously quite a bit difference between us talking, our appearances, everything else. He does it a lot better than I do, but you have to kind of step up and make it happen.
That's true, guys. It's being knocked on the door for us. It's that dire and important for us to get engaged. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, man.
So, like, as far as trying to decipher between the BS that comes out the media, even in your situation with you running like a police story coming out, then that being discouraging for somebody voting for you, what's a way you can like shortcut us if we're not at the barbecue to be able to talk to this guy to really know that he's going to, you know, push forward legislation that we want as providers? Like, how can we? What is Texana a good shortcut to like? Will y'all promote anyone like on the basis of?
So when it comes down to political support, if it happens, it's because we have certainty that that person is 100% supportive of our profession. What I would suggest you do for the individual, on the individual basis, and it's something that I do, is I have to stay hyper-focused on the issue. And I'm going to say issue that's important to me. Because once you start adding issues to the table, then you're no longer focused. And then you come to a why where, oh, well, I don't know what to choose because of this or because of that. Stay hyper-focused on that one issue. And then the second thing is, don't believe everything you see on TikTok, okay? The news have come to a point where it's about getting the news the fastest out there, not the correct news out there. So you have to be cautious before you make a decision. Listen to everything, but don't take it too hard and make your decision.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.